Welcome back for another Happy Martian Dragon Hammer Keyforge cast. We're watching Andy play a sealed event at the Fantasy Flight Game Center. This on March 29th. I'm Sam. I'm here with Chase.
How's it
Watching
going?
Andy play 4 games. If you want to follow along, he'll be playing a deck called Spikeblade, Spawn of Vyum. Deck with Dis, Shadows, and Untamed. In his first match here, playing against friend Ian.
Ian, of course, is rocking the Sauce Venus Center Skeptic, a interesting little Sanctum Shadows Logos combo. And looks like he drew into a Virtuous Works on a doorstep right off the bat. That'll be interesting.
As we hear him saying already, he's going to mulligan. Seeing those strong mid-game cards and saying, I'm not ready for those quite yet.
Yeah.
Now, in a sealed event, we'll see people playing decks that they have never played before, and this, the first game of this event. These decks are brand new. Neither of these players has ever played his deck before. It's an exciting way to play. One where you don't always know what to expect, and the task of evaluating what you're looking at can become more important in this format.
Yeah, I love playing sealed. It comes down to you have to play against the house as a whole as opposed to playing against individual cards. And that is always a lot of fun and very challenging to do in this.
Certainly, because when you're playing sealed, you don't know what's in your opponent's deck. You barely know what's in your own deck, and in a sealed event, you won't show each other your Archon cards or your deck lists before each match starts, as you would in an Archon event. We see that Ian led off with what looks like a Pocket Universe, Andy coming right back with a Niffle Ape and Flaxia, triggering to get 2 Amber. Readying up and right back over to Ian.
Yeah, really capitalizing on that second turn advantage that you get.
And more artifacts for Ian. He's got a library. Down comes the Dexter. Dexter, a controversial card. Some people swear by it. Some folks can't stand him.
I think Dexter is an extremely underappreciated tool right now. I think as we continue to progress in the game, we're going to find that he's actually a lot more situationally useful than a lot of people realize. The ability to capture 1 Ember and then recurse that is usually very powerful in the early game and relatively powerful in the mid to late game. But the problem that you're going to run into is it goes back to the top of your deck, potentially clogging up your hand later.
Yeah. Andy taking it out with his Flaxia. Looking like he neglected to put those damage counters on his Flaxia after he fought that Dexter. Setting the Dexter, as you said, to the top of the deck. Reaping with the Niffle Ape. Going up to 4 Amber. 2 from the Flaxia, 1 from the Reap, 1 from that 5 bank that he played the previous turn. Missed that one. And it's back over to Ian. Calling Sanctum, and now we see that Dexter will start clogging up his hand. And there's Andy, putting the damage counters that he forgot last time.
We have a Gatekeeper and Commander Remiel out there, looks like.
Yeah, Remiel, a small one, and a dangerous one, certainly. One that Andy will be thinking about getting rid of quickly. Gatekeeper, 5 power with an armor. So a big creature, but not an especially threatening one right now. We see him looking at that Control the Weak. A good time to be moving out of that Untamed house. Get some cards out of his hand and start moving through his deck a little more. He's got a Tourette. There's that Control the Weak.
Control the Weak is always such a hit or miss card. I typically don't like to see it until, about half to 3/4 of the way through a deck, simply because then I'll be able to make an educated guess as to what my opponent has the least of in their hand.
Yeah, and Andy playing it, calling Logos, knowing that there are two artifacts, including the Library of Babel, and also knowing that he's got that Dexter in his hand. So he's forcing in onto a house where he knows there are plays to be made.
Got a Naughty the Thief off that Wild Wormhole. That was a pretty solid return on investment right there.
Yeah, and of course we haven't seen Ian play any shadows. This is now his third or fourth turn of the game, so we can suspect that there are some shadows cards in his hand, getting a creature onto the board that he can use while getting the shadows cards out of his hand. A great opportunity for a big play next turn.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe I saw Nerve Blast and two Ghostly Hands in there. So it'll be interesting to see how he capitalizes on those.
Andy back to Untamed, using that Niffleape to fight through the elusive, smartly taking care of that Naughty before it can do any real damage. Of course, we know that he's got those ghostly hands, and it'll be important to stay above one amber. Naughty the Thief and all of those small capture tools, a great way to get somebody down to one amber to get the capital off that ghostly hand.
Yeah, it looks
And
like
as
Andy.
suspected,
Yeah, it looks like Andy himself is sitting on a good chunk of shadows cards there. It looks like he's got a too much to protect, in addition to some direct damage cards.
and difficult to tell how much amber Ian has as he's tracking it on his cell phone. He just played two ghostly hands, which will give him 4. He just played two shadow selves. So a lot of protection and a lot of amber coming out of his hand on that turn, along with 4 cards. So he'll draw 4 times, moving through his deck much more quickly than Andy is.
Yeah, I love the fact that he put the Shadow Self next to Commander Remiel. I am less enthused about the Shadow Self next to the Dexter, however. I feel like there could have been a better target for that.
I agree. Although, when there's 2 of them, difficult to know where to place. They're not going to do a lot of good sitting next to each other. Unfortunately, that Dexter will not leave play, or is unlikely to leave play until that Shadow Self does. It's a character, a creature that you don't mind seeing destroyed.
No, not at all.
And you're right back into Untamed, taking out the Shadow Self, worrying about that Remiel.
Yeah, he is really doing a lot of work out of Untamed right now, and I'm wondering if that's not going to cause him issues later on down the line because he's not going to have the tools that he may need to really capitalize on what he has in his deck.
Yeah, playing only 1 card that turn, using the Nocturnal Maneuvers to exhaust the Remiel, keeping that powerful Reap ability out of play for another turn, and removing the protection from the Shadow Self. And if Andy's looking at Ian's houses with Shadows, Logos, and Sanctum, he's not especially concerned about big board clears coming out.
Yeah, I think just about the only thing he would have to worry about is Poison Wave out of Shadow, bouncing Death Quark out of Logos. I believe Sanctum has the Spirit's Way. That would be. I think that would
Yeah,
do a lot
which would
more
clear
harm than
his whole
good.
board, though it would clear the other side of the board as well. And as predicted, Andy now finding himself without the tools in his hand, having to move into shadows. But with two strong steel effects, with Nerve Blast and Relentless Whispers, gaining 3 amber, taking out old Bruno to get the 3 back that had been captured from him, with a pile of amber over there. and knowing that Ian has a fair amount of his own, so he may be somewhat protected from a potential bait and switch.
Hmm. Yeah, I will say that in the spirit of the sealed event, we do not even know what is in these decks. We are learning along with the players. Looks like
Ian calling Sanctum again. And now that Remio will be active, he's played a Protectrix out on the side next to that Shadow Self.
that was a great play. I mean, that is a great place to put that Protectrix.
And it looks like Protect the Weak going on to that Gatekeeper. That Gatekeeper going to be in position to really do a lot of damage. He's playing a Potion of Invulnerability. And we'll see what he chooses to do with that Gatekeeper, as well as that Commander Remio. Potentially using that to trigger that Naughty. Take hostages as he grabs one more Amber.
Interesting. I think I would
And
have
we'll,
sat on that take hostages until my potion was ready.
mm, a difficult choice always.
Yeah.
He's certainly not going to capture enough to keep Andy off of this key, but it is an opportunity to do some damage using the Gatekeeper to kill the Niflate. He'll take some damage onto that Gatekeeper. He will kill the monkey. Andy pointing out that there is the additional power on that Niflate due to the presence of the Nifl Queen. And here is Remiel. And as expected, Remiel to trigger Naughty for the steal, getting a quick 2 Amber. But not enough to stop Andy, who will take the first key of the game. Looking like he's still sitting on 3 Amber. And hard to see how much Amber Ian has over there, though I suspected it's likely enough to forge his first key.
Yeah.
Andy playing the long fused mines, a way to do massive damage to creatures not on flanks, and too much to protect.
Let's see.
Will allow him to capture, it looks like 4, which tells us that Ian must have had 10 Amber. And then using the Naughty to steal one more to take Ian off of check. Bait and switch, moving him to 6. And Andy gloating a little bit, saying that's a pretty decent turn.
I think that was a little bit more than a decent turn. That not only took Ian off of his first key, but that put Andy right onto his second key.
Yeah, with some to spare. Looks like he's got at least 8, possibly 9 Amber in his pool. And putting the long fused mines onto the field, a very powerful tool that can be accessed at any point to take out multiple creatures. And as we see this large board that Ian has put together. And the Mighty Lance to take out 2 creatures.
I do like Mighty Lance. It's a fun card. It's fun to play, and it's fun to figure out the best way to use it.
It is, and a powerful removal effect in a house that does not have many direct damage effects. Sanctum preferring to use fighting effects to take care of enemies.
Yeah, and they typically want to capture as well when they start fighting. So I would almost say that the Mighty Lance feels borderline out of place, but it is a card that I think that house needed in order to make them a little bit more competitive.
And we often see those less characteristic cards showing up at the star rarity. So, Sanctum, a house without much targeted removal. We'll see that targeted removal in a rare card such as the Mighty Lance. And following up on that Mighty Lance, using Sergeant Zakiel to trigger the Protectrix to fight to kill that turret, the damage being placed on that Shadow Self. And we'll see what he plans to do now.
Yeah,
Here
that's.
comes Commander Remiel.
I am kind of confused as to why he didn't use Protectrix to Reap to heal his Gatekeeper and remove the damage, and then use the Gatekeeper to assassinate the Charette.
Certainly a missed play to do that. Did he play the Protectrix on the same turn?
He did not.
So that was ready. So even if he had, it was a missed play either way. He forgot to reap, if nothing else, before playing the Zakiel to trigger the Protectrix. And he forging his second key.
Nice.
Calling Dis to take out the Shadow Self. And after removing the Shadow Self, gonna get lots of value from the long fused mines.
Yeah, Hand of Dis is a card that I keep going back and forth on. Part of me really likes it when I'm playing against creature-heavy decks. And then, at other times, I just think it's like Key of Darkness. All it does is take up a card slot, and I want to get rid of it as soon as I see it.
Yeah, nothing that, there's almost never a situation where I'm unhappy to see that card. I'm always happy to slam it to take out any old thing that is not on a flank. And uncommon that a deck will not give you a target for a card like Hand of Dis. One of the best ways to remove Shadow Self, Bulwark, creatures hiding behind taunts. One of the strongest targeted removals in the game. And Andy moving right back to 6 Amber on that Dis turn, calling Logos with his Control of the Weak and playing directly into that library access. And seeing his opponent having played Sanctum the turn before, maybe a missed opportunity to call Sanctum with that, knowing that he couldn't do much more than just read with the 2 creatures on board.
Yeah.
And instead we'll see a massive library access turn.
I hope so. They're always fun to watch.
They are.
Not fun to play against, fun to watch.
And Dexter, this time, will make a difference to deny the key. So far, 4 cards played and drawn with the library access.
Nice.
And Lab Work, a premier card to use at library access as it removes a non-logos card from your hand, giving you an opportunity to draw at the end of your turn, even if you miss your logos cards.
Okay, come on, keep them coming as much as you want. And then,
I think he's running out of steam.
Yeah, right. Did I draw a card after this? Yes, you did. I did. And then I'm going to do Twin Bolt Emission, deal 2, and then I'll do 2 to. Who can handle it? Okay, I'll do it.
Twin Bolt Emission, another great card. Doing 2 damage to 2 targets. And Ian finding himself in the tricky position of having to do 2 damage to one of his own creatures, as Andy does not have enough targets for that to hit.
I think I fizzled out. I think that's it.
And after playing 4, 5, 6 cards in addition to the library access,
So you're put off. You're off by 1. Oh boy. All right.
Ian ends his turn, but presenting no ability to deny Andy his key if he is indeed able to get to 6 again. And with Untamed, he plays a Hunting Witch, following with another Niffle Ape for 1 Amber, moving right back to check, regrowth.
Yeah, this is never a good place to be. Ian is down by 2 keys. Andy is on the cusp of forging his 3rd key. And he's
Ian's forged 1 key, so he has gotten his first. The regrowth for the Niffle Ape that we saw earlier. Playing Lost in the Woods.
And let's put shuffle back in.
Interesting. I think I probably would have sent the Hunting Witch away just to keep it alive for a little bit longer.
A way to protect it, certainly, to look for another big untamed turn. And with a very small deck that Andy now has, sending back one Hunting Witch and one Niflhape, very likely to create a situation where he'll be able to play the Hunting Witch for at least one Amber, as he's likely to pull both of those cards back very soon. And Andy, once again, assembling a pile of Amber.
Yeah, this is a huge untamed turn.
And then we're going to turn there, and I'm going to check.
And he's forgotten to reap with his Niffle Queen.
Okay. Let's see if I can pull.
Moving to 10 Amber.
Let's see how we can do this.
I don't know. We may be looking at the end.
Yeah, Ian looking at his options. One creature, the rest exhausted. Does he have any way to deny this key? A Miasma would do it. An Effervescent Principle would get there. He's calling Logos again. Digging for answers. And Andy having shuffled back some cards that are unlikely to solve this particular puzzle. Has to be feeling good about his position.
Agreed.
Ian playing out the turn, looking at his hand, realizing that he's reached the end. Trying to play Nerve Blast on a Logos turn.
I think this is about it.
I did not see a phase shift, so unfortunately that's not going to work.
And then I'll just take.
Interesting. There you go.
And the Twin Bolt Emission. Ian having made some savvy, complex plays, and also having missed some easy ones.
Good game. Good game. Thank you very much.
And there it is. That's the game with Andy winning.
Yeah, you were able to play.
And we'll see Andy moving into round 2 shortly.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any closing
We'll see you
thoughts on
back
that
in.
one?
I think an exciting one, and I'm excited to see how this deck does as it gets matched up with stronger opponents. Clearly a strength of this deck, its ability to really crank out lots and lots of Amber. We saw Andy generating 6 or more in a turn on multiple different turns through this game, constantly challenging Ian to prevent him, to stop him from making those plays. And Ian holding a deck that did not have enough answers for the questions that Andy was asking. I'll be interested to see if Andy's able to find an opponent who will have those answers and how he might handle that situation.
Agreed. I look forward to it as well. Thank you, guys. Stick around. The next one is right around the corner.